Hello, my name is Simon Gilboy and I'm going to demonstrate for you today how to strip and repolish a piece of furniture, but a very simple and easy way to do it, something that you can do at home. This is on a 17th century replica dining table. It's made from solid oak. We're not going to do any damage to it because, like I say, it's a replica one. The customer wanted us to strip and repolish the whole table. We actually really like the base, so we've convinced the customer to keep the base. We're just going to wax polish the base, but we're going to strip and repolish the top, allowing the natural colour of the oak to shine through. So what we're going to show you today is how I'm going to strip and repolish using Gilboy's gold. I'm going to use Gilboy's pure gold to finish this top. Now, rather than just stripping this old finish off and going straight on with a wax polish, we're actually going to seal the wood first. This gives two benefits really. One, it makes the wax go a lot further, and also it seals the wood in and gives you a much better, longer lasting finish. And it's something that you can do at home very, very easily. I'm going to strip half of it, so I'm going to put a masking tape line down the centre of this table, and we're going to strip using a stripper, which you can buy from a DIY shop, Nitromores or any sort of paint stripper you can use to apply. So I'm going to show how we're going to use that here in a safe and easy way to do it. I'm going to use some gloves just to protect my hands. This is a chemical stripper, so it's a solvent-based stripper. I think the ones you can buy sort of domestically in the high street and things are maybe water-based, but read the instructions on the side of the tin. So read what it says. It tells you how to apply it and how to neutralise it if it needs neutralising. This solvent here will need neutralising with methylated spirit. So I'm also going to wear some protective eyewear just in case it splashes, but I'm going to show you the way to apply it. Hopefully it won't be splashing. So we'll pop those on. Here is a 2-inch brush, a worn brush, where you can cut one down. So you don't want long bristles, we're not going to paint it. Here is the stripper. I'm going to pour a little bit on the table actually. I'm going to be very generous with it and just move it around the table. You see how I'm not splashing it and using the paintbrush in a sort of painting and decorating style. The stripper is applied. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is actually if you're doing this indoors, make sure it's in a well ventilated area. Make sure you've got the windows open and you've got stuff on the floor to protect. Ideally, obviously, take the piece of furniture outside. Now the strip has been applied to the surface, we need to remove all that material. I'm going to use some coarse wire wool, again with the gloves, making sure to protect. If you were bare hands at this point, it could sort of cut you a little bit because it's a bit like cheese wire. But coarse wire wool. The other thing you could use, of course, as well, if there was lots and lots of material on the surface, is something like this, a cabinet scraper or a paint scraper, to move across the surface and take away the excess finish there and the stripping material. But because this is very little on here, I think I'm going to go straight away with the wire wool. So I'm just going to make a pad out of the wire wool. I'm going with the grain across the surface and just scrub it. Again, I'm not lifting it off. I'm just going to pick up all the old finish and the strippers. You can see the coarse wire wool picks it all up. So this is the first strip, so that's once. I'm now going to apply the stripper again. As you can see, there's still areas where the old finish hasn't lifted off. So I'm going to apply the stripper again and do the same process with a fresh piece of wire wool. That's the second strip. I'm going to do this 3 times. There's going to be a third strip. I was taught as an apprentice to always strip 3 times to make sure it's really cleanly stripped, getting rid of everything on the surface before you do any further processes. So it's going to be a third strip, same process again. So while I'm applying the stripper here to the edge of the table. So not everything is easy as applying stripper to a nice horizontal surface, but a vertical surface is a bit more tricky. So there are strippers out in the market and that are more gelatinous. They have a stickiness to them, a bit more viscous fluid that will hold on to the edge of a vertical surface. Now, when you're applying the stripper in those circumstances, work your way up from the bottom up. Anything that drips down then will drip onto a surface that's already been applied. And obviously put some protection on the floor, newspaper, something down there if you're doing it in a sensitive environment. Obviously make sure you have that floor protected, and again avoid the splashing. Just lay it onto the surface in the same way as I did on the top. So we've stripped the table 3 times using the stripper, the coarse wire wool. As you can see, it's cleaned off. The majority of the old finish is gone. But there are some stubborn areas where it really hasn't gone and our stripper isn't having much effect. So I am going to have to go at the surface with a sandpaper. Now, in most cases when we do this, when we're doing it with antique furniture, when we have to remove the old finish for whatever reason, obviously we wouldn't go there with any sandpaper, we wouldn't touch it. We would leave all the marks, dings and dents and scratches, everything stays in there, as I'm going to do on this table. I'm not going to sand away as much as I need to get a nice clean finish on it. Marks, dings, dents, scratches are going to remain as much as I possibly can. But we do need to get this old surface off for me to start the next section. So this is some 120 grit sandpaper, so garnet paper, and a block of wood with a bit of carpet attached to it. So there's a bit of old carpet which I've glued to this block of wood. I actually made that 25 years ago when I started the business. We've got a number of them here and it just sort of molds in my hand. I'm just going to wrap it around the block of wood and then sand the surface. Face mask on. There we go. I'm being careful around this capping here because the grain runs this way, so I'm going to avoid going across the grain as much as possible. So I'm stopping at the edge. You could put a bit of masking tape. I could, if I wanted to, quickly just run some masking tape down there, and that will help avoid doing it. I'm still going to have to work my way up to it. I've now keyed the surface with our 120 grit sandpaper, changed it a few times, cleaned it off. It's an even sand. There are still scratches, marks, dings, dents on the surface, but it's a clean sand. There is one thing we need to do next, which is to neutralise the surface. I didn't do it immediately after we stripped it because it's oak, and if we neutralise sometimes with wire wool or anything like that that's trapped in the grain, it can react with the oak. So I've stripped, then using the sanded, and now we're going to neutralise. Ours is a chemical stripper, so I'm going to use a little bit of methylated spirits with some acetic acid that's already in the bottle, just to neutralise the surface a little bit and give us a clean finish. Before neutralising the surface, I want to remove the excess dust from the surface. Rather than just brushing it off and creating a dust cloud which will go everywhere and you're breathing it in, I'm going to vacuum off the surface. So, denatured alcohol, methylated spirits, a kitchen scrubber, cheap, you get them anywhere. Doesn't matter which side you use, I'm just going to charge it and then rub it over the surface. And look at that, you can see, look at the colour of that oak. That's amazing. So there's no staining, obviously. This is the natural colour of this oak shining through here, which is something like what it's going to look like when we put a sealer on it and then wax it with our Gilboy's Gold. Look at that, fantastic honey colour to the oak. So the next process we're going to do is just lightly sand the surface with some 320 grit sandpaper. I'm not cutting it back or anything, not cutting hard, just flicking over the surface just to make sure it's nice and clean, ready for the oil to go on and then to wax polish. Just go over the surface with the grain again. Not that precise. There you go, that's all that needed. So this is our wax oil. Again, have a look online, see what you can find, or in hardware stores. And this is what we're going to apply now. We're going to apply it with, not using a brush. We never use brushes to apply these sort of oils. We're going to use some of our cloth. You can buy our cloth online. It's on our website there. You can see it at gilboys.co.uk. Look at the beeswax polishes. I think it's polishing accessories. And you can see you can buy this buffing cloth, which also doubles up as a applicator. Gloves on for this. Even though it's a natural finish, I'm going to put some gloves on. Put my goggles on. Right, I'm just shaping the cloth into a fad. So it just makes it easier to charge. So then I'm going to charge this by just pouring it onto the cloth. It's quite thick. There's no reason to be precise now. This is not, don't worry about it. I'm just going to go and apply it. Nice, even there. Look at that. Look at the colour of the wood coming through. You saw it a minute ago when the meths went on. I always recommend leaving it overnight before you do the next process, which could either be putting another coat of oil on there or waxing it, which is what we're going to do. Okay. So we'll leave that to dry overnight, and then we'll come back and then we'll wax polish this using our pure gold, and then we'll wax polish the base. So we've allowed our table to dry overnight. You can hear it's a nice dry surface now, ready for us to either lightly sand this back and give it another coat of oil if you wanted to, if it was a particularly dry surface, or as we're going to do, which is going to wax it. A nice simple process. It's called a dry shine in the trade. So here's the sandpaper if you want to do sort of, again, 320 grit, just to demonstrate what you would do. I just put it in my fingers like that. Don't need a block or anything like that. Just cross the surface, just to de-nib it. You're not cutting back, cutting into the surface. You're just taking any nibs off that you maybe don't want. So obviously we're going to apply our own wax because it's brilliant. It's the best stuff going. In our wax is Buckfast Abbey's pure beeswax. There is T1 grade carnauba wax in here, miracle wax, berry wax, sumac wax, pure Italian turpentine. We've only used the best ingredients for all of our polishes, hence why we are now getting awarded for it actually, which is wonderful. But we're going to use this and show you what it would look like on this surface and how it would look. Obviously you could do this to anything. This type of finish doesn't have to be for a dining table, it can be any piece of furniture. This is a very simple finish that anyone can do at home to create a lovely satin or sort of dull protective sheen on a piece of furniture. So we use the pure gold because I don't want to tint the colour of the surface at all. There is antique gold, which is a darker wax which we'll use on the base. We use that on the base of the table, and there's also rose gold for sort of warmer colours for things like mahoganies and rosewoods and things like that. So anyway, There it is, pure gold. It's a clear polish. There's no colour in this whatsoever. I'm going to apply it with some really fine wire wool. This is 4-0 wire wool, 4 zeros. Some people always think, my gosh, you're going to apply it with wire wool, but it's something we've been using in the workshop. Well, ever since I was apprentice, we've always put wax on with wire wool, and this goes on antique furniture, not just modern furniture or mid-century furniture. We apply wax with this wire wool. It is really soft. It's like cotton wool. I'm going to make a pad, and then I'm going to charge the wire wool with some pure gold on there. And then I'm just going to dab it over the surface, spread it evenly onto the top. Okay. You can see I've just done one plank at a time. You can see this table is made up of 4 planks of oak. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've got a large surface you are doing, then I would advise doing 1 plank at a time. If you've got a chest of drawers, maybe just do the drawers, don't do the sides or the top. Break it down into smaller sections, it makes it a lot easier for you. So I've waxed this 1 plank here. I'm just going to stop for a minute, and then I'm going to show you how we fill these little holes. Some of them I'm going to leave, but there's a big hole here which actually I'm going to repair with one of our beeswax repair cubes. They are here, again available on our website. These are hand gilded repair cubes made by us in the workshop, all the restorers in the workshop. They are pure beeswax from Buckfast Abbey, blended with a tiny bit of carnauba as well, and they've been coloured to match our waxes. So each one is rose gold, antique gold, and a pure gold. I'm going to use the rose gold here to fill this hole. And to prevent the wax from going anywhere else around the area of the table, I don't want any of the wax to go into the grain. I'm going to use a bit of masking tape to protect the area. I'm not being too critical, I just want to stop it from filling the grain and rubbing wax where it was unnecessary. So, pretty quickly. This is just ordinary masking tape, decorator's masking tape, nothing special. There you go. So now I want to get some of that wax in there. At home you probably use a candle or a lighter. I've got a little meths burner which we use in the workshop. So I'm just going to warm up this wax cube just to get it dripping, and then fill that hole with some melted wax. Okay, so we filled the hole with the rose gold repair cube. The wax is chilled down now. That hole was actually quite a big hole, and this is just an old credit card, debit card that everyone has. So the idea being that you can scrape off the excess wax off the surface, and if I use it in the same way as I'd use a cabinet scrape, so that's flush to the masking tape. Let me just, brilliant. So now I'm just going to, there we go, it just scrapes off and brings it flush to the surface. Because it's plastic, not metal, it's not scraping away any of the work that we've done before, it's not scraping away any of the oil finish that we put on there. Like that, dead smooth. There we are, it's done. Let's go back to waxing. I'll carry on applying the pure gold polish again, just charging the wire wool. I'm just going to dab it on the surface. reason we're dabbing it is so I can apply it evenly. Now I'm just going to leave that for 25-30 minutes. Let the pure turpentine evaporate, or it will soak into the finish. It's not a problem because it's a pure natural pine turpentine, and it also then allows the waxes that we've blended together in our recipe to harden and give you that lovely protective finish, protecting the sealer that we put on here, and then in turn protecting the wood, and then obviously giving you a much longer lasting sort of finish. This process can be applied to all sorts of things. It doesn't have to be just for oak, it could be any timber as well. It could be pine or teak or mahogany, walnut, doesn't matter. The process that we've shown you, that step of polishing, of finishing, can be applied to pretty much all pieces of furniture. Okay, so we've waxed the table, we've left it for nearly 30 minutes, and it's time to buff with our buffing cloth. It's what we use in the workshop all the time. The reason we use this cloth is because it's got loads of holes in this, and it's a pure cotton cloth. The idea being, when you buff with this cloth, you'll find that hardly any wax will come off, and as you start to buff it, you'll see a subtle sheen will happen with this type of finish on here. Be a bit more shiny on the base, but this is where we're going for that satin matte finish. So let's give it a buff and see what happens. Like that. So yeah, it's got a lovely sort of satin finish. It's appearing there. Lovely and smooth. Again, I'm buffing one plank at a time. So you've got a big piece of furniture, do break it down into sections. Make it easier for yourself. And because we've used all those high quality waxes in our polishes, and all three of our polishes, it's really easy to get a lovely deep sort of sheen. If you wanted to apply another coat, you shouldn't really need to. Leave it for 48 hours or so, or a good few days, before applying another coat of wax, because what you don't want to do is apply another coat of wax on top and pull off what you've just put down. So leave it. I'm changing the surface, the face of it, because there's heat being generated by me buffing, and I want a cold face to the cloth. I don't want a warm face that will start warming the wax up. So that's why I'm changing the face. It's not because only wax is coming off. As you can see, there's no wax at all. So there you go. I mean, that's pretty much it, really. We're there. That wax is buffed. Look at that. A lovely natural finish. You can feel the grain. It's protected and ready to use. Brilliant. So we've waxed the top, we finished the top, we've raised the table frame onto some trestles to make it easier so I can demonstrate it. Obviously you might not be able to do that at home or in the environment, so you might be able to do it on the floor. But for this purpose, we've got up on trestles, so I can talk to you about how we apply the wax to the base. So again, using our soft wire wool, make a pad. I'm going to use the antique gold on this because I think it will work a treat with this darker surface. Again, just going to charge that. Well, there's a nice little dollop of wax on there. Now you could wear gloves while doing this if you're going to do this a lot, because obviously the colour might come off. Just get some household gloves. Just put some household gloves on, it's fine. I mean, it's all lovely natural ingredients in here. You see how liberal I'm being with it. I'm just dabbing it on, smoothing it around over the surface. You see the colour now, look at that. You can see where I've applied the wax there, and it's just going to tone down those lighter areas. So if you have over applied it, just get a clean area of wire wool and wipe it off and just remove it. So I'm going to carry on and do the rest of this table frame. As you apply the wax, you'll see that it goes matte as it did on the surface. If you've got shiny areas, really shiny areas, which you can see on the leg behind here, this is really quite sort of shiny compared to this leg now, then there's no wax on there. But as the wax goes on, it makes it nice and dull, and as we buff, that sheen will come back. We'll wait 20 or 30 minutes, but I'll carry on and wax the rest of this frame. Okay, so we've applied the wax, waited 25 minutes or so. Let's buff and cloth. Again, in the shape of a pad, really, it doesn't matter. It's not too much. And don't worry about direction of the grain. It's a turned leg, doesn't matter. So we'll just start. Now this will last on this table for about 4, 5, 6 years maybe before you have to repolish it. Depends how many legs and feet to rub against it. So the thing about our polishes against other polishes, this will last a long time because we've got a lot of wax in here, and this lovely sheen, this protective wax is protecting that surface. There's no need to keep on re-waxing a surface. There's no reason to keep on re-waxing. The table top, you might, depending on how much traffic it gets, repolish that, re-wax that maybe every 6 months, maybe a year, depending on how much use it gets. So, okay, so we've completed our task. Hopefully it's a quick and easy process for you to follow. I'm just going to reiterate about this finish. It's a matte, natural looking finish. That's what we're trying to achieve here. We're not trying to achieve a gloss finish, a deep luster. For this purpose, we're using, it's a natural looking finish. I've used an oil to seal the table. You can use anything. You can use sanding sealer, an old varnish you've got in the shed. You can have a satin gloss. It depends on what you want, what you're trying to achieve. But if you want a natural looking finish, then choose a matte finish or a matte product like we have an oil. You can have like a varnish, so, and then leave that to dry overnight. Then lightly sand it if you need to. If not, like we didn't really need to on this, we just apply some wax with the wire wool, leave it for 20-30 minutes, buff, and then you get this lovely finish. You can see the contrast between the two. It's fantastic. We've left that there so you can see that throughout the whole process, how it started, and this is the end result. There are scratches, marks, dings and dents. I filled the little hole there, left some of it exposed. It looks like a natural finish. We put the tape line down there to take that off. You can see the difference between the two. I think that looks a really fantastic finish, and I think anyone can do this at home. Thank you for watching me present this to you. If you have any questions, if you have any furniture that you're not sure about, you'd like to use our polishes on, then email us. Just send us an email, take a few images of your furniture or whatever it is you're trying to polish, you'd like to polish, send it through to us and we can help advise you the best way to go about it. So email us. You can email me, simon@gilboys.co.uk, but look on our website to find out more details. And check our YouTube channel, Gilboy's YouTube channel, for other instructional videos and helpful hints and tips when it comes to restoring furniture and polishing furniture, which we'll carry on updating as the months go on.